Stillwater's Morning Scramble, and Kevin Fowler is in, the president of Simmons Bank. How have you been?
Doing well. Happy Cinco de Mayo, huh?
It is today, isn't it?
It is.
I bet there's a margarita and some futures today, right?
There you go. Yeah, there's demand at Mexico Joe's for the margaritas. If they can take those out, I'm not sure how that works exactly.
You know, I'm not either.
There's liquor laws against some of that, isn't there?
So I'm not sure how we're all standing. I think you just have to go. And you can go to, by the way, the visitstillwater.org page. It directs you, and there are links there, and it tells you what restaurants are doing what at what time.
Okay.
And so
very good.
And so I'm glad you brought that up. It is today, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
May the 5th.
And May the 4th be with you yesterday. That was a big deal around on our conference calls. So yeah, back to back. I didn't realize how that went.
That is right, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, well, you have been busy. I
Yes.
corresponded. I sent you a text on Saturday, and it was strictly personal. I visited with you a little bit on Saturday, and then I thought at the time, he may never even see this because you've been working almost all nighters.
We have. I like being busy, but it's been overwhelming at times, really for the last 6 weeks, and certainly a lot of folks are busy right now, no question about it. But that banking community has been one that's been working, I think, behind the scenes in a lot of areas, but not so much with a lot of businesses because of the Paycheck Protection Program. Last time we spoke, we talked a bit about how that was going for the first phase. If you might take you back to March 27th when Congress and the president signed off on the stimulus package, $2.2 trillion. Of that, $350 billion went to a program called the Paycheck Protection Program, and that opened up on Friday, April 3rd. And that first $350 billion lasted about 10 days. I think it was Thursday, April 13th, and that was pretty dramatic because we weren't able to get all of our businesses in, and that was the real intense part about it. There's a ticking clock on that money, and there's a finite dollar figure, so we knew that that program wasn't funded fully, and that there was going to be some folks that weren't going to be able to get into that first phase. So when it expired, there certainly it turned out to be a second phase. We didn't know that at the time, but the second phase opened up last Monday morning at 9:30, and so all the pent-up demand that had been building up that didn't make the first phase and that was building up for that 10-day gap period of time was waiting to go and get approved for SBA funding on Monday last week. And so getting through that glut of deals, and then obviously new deals coming along every day as well, has been a blessing, been a thrill for our team and for the banking community. I would say it's been the work of my career for sure, the most important work, I guess I should say, to date. And I think the banking community would say that. The chamber is collecting data on how many businesses were assisted by the PPP, as we're calling it, the Paycheck Protection Program, and how many dollars actually went into the Stillwater community. And I think it's going to be significant dollars. We did hundreds of the Paycheck Protection Program over a few week period of time. And so just imagine all of your customers coming to you at the same time, basically over a 10-day, 2-week period of time, with the same issue and the same need, and that pressure of limited funds and limiting time, and so you really don't sleep in those moments, especially since our team, and I think other banks' teams for sure, were working through the night. It was kind of a rotation situation because you wanted to keep those files moving. The SBA portal was open 24/7, so you're continuing trying to move files forward. So if there are times in the middle of the night you could, if you're our home, that you wake up and you can move files forward with technology. And there are some times when it really was intense last Monday and Tuesday night where we just stayed at the bank throughout the night because it was that important that we moved files through the night. And I know the other bankers were doing that as well, but our clients expected it. It was important for the community. As it turned out, there is money still remaining, which we just didn't know that. Obviously, the first phase ran out in 10 days, and the second phase, it looked like it would go quickly as well because of that. The folks that didn't make the first round and those that were kind of built up over that 10-day gap, it looked like it might go as quickly as well. And what's turned out to be is that we certainly have done more deals in the second phase, but they've been smaller deals. The larger projects, the larger businesses kind of got in the first wave, and the second wave was more independent contractors and smaller dollars that kind of made that dollar figure last. Over the weekend, SBA reported that of the $310 billion that was assigned for the second wave, if you will, about $200 billion has been used. So we're about 2/3 of the way through it. So it's turned out to be a really good story, but you just didn't know. There was no, we talked about no playbook for what Mayor Joyce is going through. There was no playbook for what we were going through either, in trying to get our clients and our community in the door, if you will, because it was very competitive.
Kevin, is this distributed on a first come first serve basis? Is that why you have to be there overnight? Because when and you sent me a note saying, because we had talked about being on next Tuesday or last Tuesday, and you said it looks like it's going to be an all nighter.
Yeah.
And I didn't know whether it was Zoom meetings, whether it was still brainstorming, but you're actually getting the product for your clients.
You're moving your clients
forward. Is it first come first serve?
It is first come first serve. In the first wave, I have to admit, and you saw some of the preferential treatment from some lenders. Wells Fargo comes to mind. That culture seems to be one that's not of the best, but there was a little bit of that going on, it seemed. But the reason there was that gap for 10 days, a lot of folks were frustrated about it, but I could see what Congress was looking to do was put more safe gaps in there, if you will, to make sure that the small business was taken care of, and so there were times during the second phase where only financial institutions at $1 billion and less could submit deals to the portal for this 10-hour period of time. So Congress was making sure that the smaller banks and the smaller companies were getting their opportunity to get into the PPP as well. So it is first come first serve, but
are they still coming for the people that? And it would be easy. I get frustrated. It would be easy if you're frustrated 2 or 3 days to almost give up on the system. For the people that maybe it didn't work out the first phase, is there still time for that?
There is still time for that. Like I had mentioned, I think the banks have it down to where it's kind of a 1 day, 2 day process now. Early on, I know the rules were changing, as we've talked about before, and the first rule of banking is do no harm. So we want to make sure that we had the rules down, that that there was a forgiveness part, because the program is about a loan forgiveness part. If you actually retain and restore employees during the 8-week period of time, then in fact your loan could be forgiven, or would be forgiven up to a certain dollar figure, maybe all of it. So certainly want to make sure we were doing it the right way, and at the end of the day there was going to be a forgiveness piece to it. So once we got that down, then it was more of a quicker process, and that's kind of what we're into now. The whole premise of the program, it was interesting. There's no history for us to have done this in this country, but it's really about, okay, we've got a problem, and it's the virus. We don't know how long this is going to last. We know it's intense right now, but let's put small business put the economy on freeze if we can, for an 8-week period of time. And that's what the PPP really does. It says, okay, we want to come out of this where we can largely turn the switch and move back into a vibrant economy, or some kind of a economy where we're not permanently damaged. And so what the PPP does is it incents companies to restore and retain employees. It allows funds to pay rent and mortgage and utilities. So you're freezing your business for 8-week period of time. You're able to keep your employees on the payroll, so that when business is able to open back up, that you have your team ready to roll again, and you're up to date as far as rent and utilities are concerned, and you can kind of flip the switch and move into a new phase of business. That's the whole purpose of the program, and I think it's been really effective, quite honestly. To me, it looks like that's what we're going to be able to do if the social distancing, if all the testing actually works out, and come early July, we're able to open up the economy.
Is there a possibility of phase 3?
It's been successful. I haven't.
Is there a need for phase 3
at this point in time? Not. It doesn't appear to, but it could be, Steve. It's crossed my mind for sure. I haven't. We've been so kind of nose to the grindstone and so focused on getting done what we can get done. But if this does turn out to be a 16-week issue, is there a need for, if there's a possibility to put the economy on freeze for 16 weeks and not 8 weeks? It has been effective in my view, and it may come to that. I think it's kind of a wait and see where we are.
Yeah, I think just like the segment before we were talking, none of us have ever been here before, and the next couple of weeks I think are going to be crucial, because we've had some that did lighten the restrictions, and we're going to have some data on how that's worked, whether it's been where we're going to continue to lighten things up and open up more or not. I don't think we know.
Test the waters here, and
yeah.
And it is important in every community, but Stillwater, of course, we're hometowners, and this is our passion is for Stillwater, but we need to get it right for the fall. We just do. I mean, it's really important that we get back to business as soon as we can. But as far as the public health issues concerned, we really need to get it right. But for students to come back in the fall is really key for us.
And Burns Hargis put out a statement over the weekend. We're planning on opening. They're still trying to figure out what that looks like, of course, on housing and how you space, whether classes will be smaller. But the plan is to have the students here, and you're right. That's such a vital part of our community. And I think we've got, along with Burns Hargis, you mentioned the fact that we're lucky to have the leadership we do there. We also on campus, and you work closely with that as well.
We do. Yeah, I've been a partner of Oklahoma State University for over 100 years or so, and there's been times when town and gown didn't work so well together, but when we're fortunate to have the leadership in both areas that we do in these days. I mean, never Pollyanna situation, but better than any time in my 35-year banking career here, in my view.
Yeah, mine too. Actually, in dealing with the city and the university, we have them on together now, and it's all everybody understands. I think that what helps, the sinking ships or whatever. That's what we need right now. What helps downtown helps the university, and I love the corridor talk. You've been on lots of boards with that,
right? Yes.
You were on the Block 34 board,
right, for a period of time.
And by the way, I don't know how this is going to affect that time wise, but I love the plans for Block 34.
Oh yeah,
don't you?
Oh yeah. Everything's been put on ice, including that at this point in time, I think.
But the wide open space there and the amphitheater that merges with downtown.
Yeah.
And you were part of that. I think you were part.
Yes,
of
absolutely.
That together
early on.
Back when you had all that free time.
Right.
Hey, when you're making these decisions and getting this stuff done, who is your go-to? I mean, obviously you have to go somewhere for advice and want to know what can we do. Where do the bankers go?
Yeah, really. Certainly our SBA teams, if you will. I think that's what you're talking about in some of that area. Certainly have good leadership there, but it is kind of an uncharted territory, and you're kind of following your moral compass and you're do the right thing kind of thing and do no harm kind of situation. So that's certainly where we're going in that regard. I think we talked about the lobbies that are closed at our bank, certainly full service in all areas that we can, but just being respectful and mindful of the public health issue that are out there. We certainly had kind of had plans of opening the lobby this week, but it just didn't seem like the right time. Not even before what happened over the weekend with the city's modifications, but it's going to be soon. We're not sure exactly when that was, but kind of mid-month was probably where we're targeting, in my view. Again, we had thought that was this week, but it is kind of see how things are progressing.
But if people do need to talk to their loan officer, if I do need to talk to Gary Teal, you can, right?
Oh, absolutely. We looked at our call logs yesterday for the month of April, and
is most of it on the phone.
Yeah, well, how many calls come in and how many calls we're answering, that type of thing. And it was 5 times what the normal call log would look like. So we've kind of learned different ways of doing banking, haven't we, in regards to reaching out and contacting and calling in and that kind of thing.
But are you able to, if they have to, are they able to do one-on-ones?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. These deals that we're closing, the PPPs, there's several hundred of them that we're doing, and those all incorporate or include, I should say, a loan closing. Just as you might imagine, there's a closing of the loan packet. So we're getting creative on how we do that. A lot of it's done email, and then it's a call to us when they come to the bank, so we can meet them get them into the lobby and finish it up, that kind of thing. So there's just getting creative and making it work as we get through this time.
Everybody's doing things differently. Any that's going to carry over when we are wide open. Well, what if you learned that you say, that's beneficial doing it that way?
Well, there's the online banking side. It was going to be a tipping event, wasn't there? And this feels like that's just been, we watched kind of that information coming in as well. And certainly more folks, and there's been unscientific anecdotal data out there that just people that I know, they're certainly using online banking at a higher level. And so there's we're not going back to what we've done before all the way. There's certainly been some efficiencies we found in all this.
I watched the council meeting last night, and it was on Zoom, and that's progressed so well. I mean, they have good technology people over there. They have the folks that know how to do it, but they're able to get her done. The first time you're trying to figure out, okay, what do I hit and how is everybody here? and now you have the little Brady Bunch screen there, and everybody has made it work and remained isolated at the same time. It's a different world.
Different world. Yeah.
So what do we miss here? You've been
I
watching
think we're
some
good.
baseball on TV.
Well, we did get home a little bit this weekend and watched a little bit of MLB
Old classic
channel.
stuff.
Yeah, old classic stuff. It's been interesting to see some of that. Yeah, I really enjoyed getting caught up.
And you didn't get to. I know your dad was going with you to a Rockies and your son.
Yeah, we missed out on
You were
that
in
in
the
April, but we're already kind of thinking what that looks like. If we can catch up with some baseball in July or August, we'll see how that turns.
So you still plan on rescheduling?
We do. We just really enjoy that trip. It's kind of the best 3 days of the year for us, I think.
Well, there's something there's something about family and baseball, I think, that goes together. And I sent you something over the weekend, and I think it kind of resonated with you. And it was a picture of my dad, actually, and it was before I was born. But you said that made you think of kind of where you are in your life.
Yeah, well, it was emotional for me to see it. Here, if you visualize this, he reminded me of the young father in Field of Dreams.
My dad did.
Your dad did, excuse me. Yeah. And can we have a play catch kind of thing with. So anyway, it was just a great pick, and he looked like that. And it was a day your older sister and older brother were sitting on his lap at the St. Louis Zoo,
right?
And your dad cut out and went to the St. Louis doubleheader with the Giants and watched Stan the Man Musial hit 5 home runs. So just that was a great story.
Yeah, and it was one that, and my sister posts that picture every day because I mean, if you don't know baseball, that was an historic event. And just a little side note, we'll get into baseball now. The only other guy that's hit 5 home runs in a doubleheader, his name is Nate Colbert, and he played with the Padres. And he was at that game as a little kid. He was at that very same game where Musial hit his 5. So 2 of them have done it, and they were both in the park at the same time.
Classic.
So
only baseball.
But anyway, my dad cut out from the zoo and went and watched some baseball. You got to have your priorities right.
That's right.
And so my sister posted that picture of him at the zoo right before he left, and it is a good picture.
I shared that with my dad. He really enjoyed that as well.
So
yeah,
family and baseball, it's
family
together.
And baseball.
So anything we've missed here?
Hey, you're doing a great job, Steve. Thank you.
Thank you for coming in too. So is it a little closer to routine now?
Yeah.
What do we need to let people know if they do have any questions about any of this stuff?
Yeah, about the PPP. Our legacy line, we're kind of posting that on the marquee. So that 372-2230 number. Have any questions about the PPP or really anything banking that we can help you with? Give us a call. I know the community bankers all are kind of ready to help in that area. So just reach out if there's anything that we can be doing for you. Community bankers are stepping it up, in my view, and at this needed time. And again, it is the most important work time of our career today. We'll see what's coming down the line, but it's been an important time, and I really think the community bankers have stepped up.
Well, thanks for all you're doing. Thanks for the transparency and coming in here. We can do it anytime you want, but maybe next week.
Absolutely.
Maybe a different world, right? Who knows?
Stay tuned.
That's exactly right. There you go. Well, there's Kevin Fowler with Simmons Bank.